Today we'll be answering some big questions. Boat can go on water? Why can't everyone? Why can't we traverse forests? Is there any way? Yes, there is. We'll see about that in episode 6 of How to Mod It. Hello and welcome. Today we are looking at the Terrain Tables tab, which is a tab we haven't seen a lot, but it is where all the magic happen for what we want to do today. Which is modifying pretty much what type of terrain a unit can walk or traverse. So if we take a quick look at what the terrain tables look like, on the left hand side we have every type of terrain table currently in the game. So for water, land, farm, beach, there's even an option for to be able to traverse all types. We'll go over that one kind of soon. And if we take one randomly, let's go with 7. As we can see, in the middle section here, the middle column, there's every type of terrain traversable. So there's 121 currently in the game. And on the right-hand side, there is different value that we can change, mostly related to graphic and at the top, accessibility, which is the most important that we'll be looking at right now. If we want to talk a bit about graphics, as you can see here, there's one like 12,266. This is a walk tile graphic, meaning that this is the graphic that will appear when a unit walk on grass if they are linked to the terrain table 7. And all those graphics are, of course, in the graphics section that you can see there's a ton of them, and we can just find the one we want. Was it 12,266 right here? So there's some stuff that are modifiable. It is outside the scope of what we'll do here, but at least you know it exists. So if we go back to the terrain table, what we want to do for us is to make a unit walk on water and maybe traverse a forest, right? So what we need to do is to have the accessibility right here be a 1. If it's a 1, it means that you can go over that terrain, bearing some restriction here and there that we'll go over. But as you can see here, everything is 1. And if I go, let's just type water here. Water is, for the most part, at 0. I guess bridge is at 1 because you can cross a bridge. So everything is at 0 here. So a unit that has 7 can go pretty much on land, but not on water. And that's not what we want. We want the opposite. So if we go to water here, which is 6, everything is at 1, except bridge, because usually boat cannot cross bridge in Age of Empire 2. So what we want is to create a table or use an existing table that has a water availability. So now we know roughly how the terrain table work, and we can look at how it links the unit we want. So just to show an example of a boat, let's go for galleon. So the galleon right here, if I scroll down, we're looking for terrain tables, which is roughly in the middle right here. So terrain table 3, water large wave, which I guess makes sense. It just means that it's just the name of the terrain table. It probably means that there's graphic for larger wave as the ship moves. So if we go to terrain tables, click on 3, you can see accessibility is at 1 for everything except the bridge, yet again. So it can go on water, and you have the walk tile graphic for combine wake large. So you see how the graphic is linked to all those for everything in there. So it's pretty straightforward once you know where to look. So right now, what we're looking for is to modify some unit that are not the usual, right? A boat can go on water, that's fine. And if we look at a villager, for example, a villager male, we go to terrain, terrain table, sorry. It was 7, what we were looking at earlier, and he cannot go on water. So it is possible for us to simply modify the value here from 0 to 1. But it will modify every unit that are affected by this, or that are linked to the terrain table 7. That might not be what we want. So we have options, which is pretty much to modify one of those tables from 32 to 49, which are I think mostly used for projectile. They're not as used as the one below 30. So that's a possibility, since those are, like you see here, projectile, arrow. You could modify that without affecting any other unit except projectile, which shouldn't matter. You can also create another table, but I've noticed that if you create another table, it can be a bit tricky sometimes. Like the game react weirdly. So, but the way I found to maybe circumvent it is to copy everything. So I just pretty much click everything here, highlight it, I paste the value that I had in a other table, which this one was 49. And then I can modify it as much as I want here. If I go back to water, I believe this one was already, yeah, this one was already available for the water tile, so everything is there. And there is some graphic as well here. If I wanted to remove it, I can just -1 on everything and every graphic, or I can choose another graphic if I wanted. But I don't know most of the graphics, so you'd have to take a look if you want to modify that. So here, everything is at 1 except the bridge again, so for the water, so I don't have much to do. If I wanted to, for example, make something else traversable, let's say here, I guess even the forest is allowed to be traversable, which is nice. If I look at other thing, here, you can see the forests are traversable, but they are not because of another constraint that we'll look at it soon. So for now, we will use table 50, and we'll go to our unit. So let's see the villager. Where's the table? Right here. And we can just change to table 50. We can change it if you wanted to just be lazy and just want to make it available for everything. You can use 0, which is all, which pretty much unlocked every type of terrain without you having to modify anything. But here we'll just go with this one, but you can modify it as much as you want. So for villager though, there's different type of villager, depending if they're a builder, lumberjack, fisherman. So here we also have to modify it for every type of villager we want to use. Here we'll just be using normal villager and fisherman. So here, and maybe, why not, the builder can switch to 50 as well. And here you have it. The terrain table has been modified, meaning they can now go on water without any issue. Now, if we wanted to, let's say, traverse forest, what we do is, let's say we want the scout cavalry, one of our starting unit. You can see as terrain table 28, which is a bit different because I believe, like, yeah, cavalry does. It just the graphics are a bit different for it. If we just want to be pretty quick with that one, scout cavalry, set it to terrain table 0 for traversing all. And then if we scroll down, the main issue, even though the terrain are all traversable, is the unit has collision with other object. So we need to go to the collision section and pretty much make the unit flat. So here you have the X, the Y, and the Z on the right side. You want to modify the Z to make the unit flat, and that way it will be able to cross any terrain that have some elevation or some pretty much Z hitbox, because water, grass, beach, sand, and all of that, they have no Z component, they have no height. But cliff, forest, and all of those do have some height. So that is an issue we need to circumvent. But I'll say this now, usually when you change this value to 0, units tend to act a bit differently because the game is not used to recognizing those. So that's a drawback to it. And then, finally, we can just take the mill. I believe that this mill 68 is the one in Dark Age. And we can go to terrain table, and we'll just show that it's possible to pretty much build a mill anywhere. If you switch to 6, you can switch to 0 as well if you want to build it really anywhere. 6 make it buildable on water, 0 make it buildable anywhere, really. And that's roughly some of the change I wanted to show, and then we can jump in game. So right here, we can see those villagers that we've modified being able to pretty much go anywhere. And the mill, not the usual place you'll see a mill, and it is buildable on the water. And you can do that for any building. If you're good with some 3D program, you could make your own water mill or something like that and make it buildable on water by fishing ship. There's a ton of possibility with that. But that's just a way for us to see that villager can go on water now because we changed a terrain table. And here you go, you see the scout is already in the forest, and it is possible to traverse, and this villager should be able to traverse, right? But if I click on the other side, he gets blocked because he has that Z component for the height, and we removed it for the scout. But the scout you see the hitbox is now square. He does act a bit differently than some other unit, but if all you want is to traverse a terrain like this, it is very easy possible. As you can see, you can traverse the stone, and it can go down cliff even. It looks a bit ridiculous, but it is quite possible. And same as a villager can go on water without any issue. So a lot of possibility with that. Pretty fun table to play around with, to maybe do some fun mod and things like that. And that's roughly it. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.